Numbers don't lie.
Does he have pictures of you?
I saw that on the internet too. Jon Jones is
we
active.
don't know. No, see, that's what you do. You talk over us, so we can't answer.
I apologize. You go ahead.
Alright, so just last night, Dana White's Supreme Gluck Gluck 3000 glazing campaign over Jon Jones has finally culminated in a pretty tense standoff between him and 3 MMA reporters. Things started kicking off when a reporter whose name I actually don't know facetiously asked Dana if Jon Jones is pound for pound #1, and as you can imagine, Dana says that he is, but the real MVP here is Kevin Aioli, who jumps in to ask the question that's been on everyone's mind for months now.
He's the pound for pound best fighter in the world, and he's the GOAT. And you all know this. Numbers don't lie.
Does he have pictures of you?
I saw that on the internet too.
Jesus Christ, shout out to Kevin Aioli here. I'll say this, it's obvious that Dana and Kevin have a good working relationship, because if most other reporters said this right to Dana's face, then they would have their press pass revoked. But Dana's let Kevin do one-on-one interviews in the past, and they've even had some run-ins outside of the workplace where Dana's been pretty chill to him, so it seems like they're on good terms with one another. And in true Dana fashion, he immediately tries to turn the tables on them and asks the reporters in the crowd if they're really so stupid to actually think Jon Jones isn't the current pound for pound #1 and the GOAT.
Are you guys that fucking stupid? You can't be that fucking stupid to think that Jon Jones is not the pound for pound best fighter in the world and the GOAT.
Then John Morgan steps into the mix and he asks a great question that I really couldn't say any better myself.
At what point does activity come into play, right? I mean, we all agree there is nobody better than Jon Jones. He's the greatest of all time. There's no question about it. But at some point when you're looking at rankings, they do have to represent what's happening in the organization at that moment, right at that time. And in the past 3 years, he's had 1 fight.
This is just a great question from Morgan, because I don't think anybody in the world can really deny that Jon Jones's resume is the best of all time. And of course, there are a lot of people out there that don't consider him the GOAT for a number of reasons, mainly Jon's multiple steroid failures. But in terms of his overall career achievements, it's really hard to find someone whose resume and accolades match Jon's. But the thing is, we're not talking about GOAT, we're talking about current pound for pound #1 in the sport at this very moment. We've been talking about pound for pound #1, and yet Dana for months now has insisted that despite Jon's inactivity, his present day achievements justifies him being at the top of the conversation, which is just baffling to me, and it's clearly baffling to the reporters in the crowd as well. Then Dana and Kevin Aioli start going back and forth about how Dana himself said that he thought Jon lost to Dominic Reyes.
And you thought he lost to Reyes.
Huh?
And when he fought Reyes, you said you thought Reyes won the fight.
He didn't win the fight. Jon Jones did.
But you said you thought he won the fight.
Who gives a shit? I'm not the fucking judges. The guy didn't win he didn't lose the fight.
Dana starts defending Jon here by saying that the judges gave the decision to Jon and that's all that matters, but the thing is, this fight happened nearly 5 years ago at this point. Alex Pereira wasn't even in the UFC at this point. This really isn't a relevant enough performance to be used to defend his take. And then Dana starts talking about Jon's 1 loss against Matt Hamill shouldn't even be a loss, which honestly I agree with, but again, how is this at all relevant to the conversation of current pound for pound #1? It definitely helps support the claim that Jon's the GOAT, seeing as Jon fought Hamill in 2009, but using this as a defense to support Jon as the sport's current pound for pound #1 just doesn't make any damn sense to me. Then Dana says something remarkably stupid and honestly pretty disrespectful about Islam Makhachev by refuting that he's the pound for pound #1 because he had a tough fight against Alexander Volkanovski, who moved up in weight to challenge for the belt.
Talk about pound for pound, and I don't want to shit on any of my other guys, but who is it right now? Islam? Islam, many people believe, lost to the guy who's a weight class below him. Is that how pound for pound works? Many people, including people in this room.
But he got the win. It doesn't matter what we say.
You're absolutely right. But he fought a weight class down.
Dana then strongly alludes to the idea that Anderson Silva didn't want to fight Jon Jones, even though Jon was willing to fight him, which personally I think is a straight up lie.
When all the guys were in there, you had the Jon Jones, the Anderson Silvas, and the George St. Pierres. I know who wanted to fight who and who didn't want to fight who. And Jon Jones has always been willing to fight everybody.
Because Jon has gone on record to the media multiple times saying that he doesn't want to fight Anderson because they're friends and that he looks up to him, so the fact that Dana's making claims that Anderson was scared to fight Jones at 205 just seems really fishy to me. Dana again starts speaking to Jon's all-time greatness by saying that he's fought all the greats of his time, but this time Kevin Aioli jumps back in and shoots down Dana's nonsense. This is probably my favorite part of this this entire interview because things get genuinely heated between these two.
Other than that, Jon Jones has fought everybody that's ever been put in front of him. He went through murderer's row, and if you look at who he fought at the time when he fought them, look at the record of the guys combined that he fought. And the list just goes on and on.
That makes him the greatest fighter of all time, not the greatest active fighter, because he is not an active fighter. He has fought one time in over 4 years.
Who let this man Kevin Iole cook? Kevin is speaking facts right up in Dana's face, and I really admire him for having the stones to look Dana in the eye and tell him that what Dana's trying to sell to the world is complete and utter bullshit. Jon is not the current pound-for-pound #1 because he hasn't done anything in the current relevant time frame to be considered by MMA fans or MMA reporters to be seen as such. Then Dana starts doing some textbook gaslighting and starts making it seem like he can't wrap his head around the idea why people don't view Jon as pound-for-pound #1, and he even says that fans are playing some sort of game by pretending that Jon's not the current best fighter.
It's fucking silly, and I don't know what this game is with everybody, but Jon Jones is the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world.
Dana continues the gaslighting by saying that Jon is actually, in fact, an active fighter because he's been scheduled for fights but has just had to pull out due to injuries. And honestly, I can kind of understand where Dana is coming from here, but the thing is, I still wouldn't call this being an active fighter by definition. Call me crazy, but being an active fighter is a person who is actively fighting, and that is just simply not what Jon is at this current moment. He beat Cyril Gane in March of 2023, then he had just one fight scheduled since against Stipe for November of 2023, then he got injured. And for the final few minutes of this press conference, it's mainly just Kevin and Dana going back and forth on how Jon should be fighting Tom Aspinall instead of Stipe Miocic. You have Kevin on one side saying that Stipe doesn't even deserve the title shot because he's been gone for so long and because he's coming off of a loss. Then on the other side, you have Dana basically saying that Jon and Stipe are some of the most decorated fighters in modern UFC history, and they have earned the right to want to fight each other if they so choose. And the thing is, even though I totally agree that it should be Tom Aspinall fighting Jon next to unify the heavyweight belt, I do see where Dana is coming from, at least in the sense that Jon wants to fight Stipe and Stipe wants to fight Jon, so the fight does make sense. But even though it makes sense, it really doesn't make the most sense. The fight that makes the most sense is having Jon Jones, the UFC heavyweight champion, fight Tom Aspinall, the guy who's not only the interim heavyweight champion but has even defended the belt. Dana starts repeating over and over again that he wants to give Stipe the respect that he deserves and that it wouldn't be right to make any other fight besides Jon versus Stipe because they're legends who want to fight one another, but this is kind of ironic to me, seeing as how Stipe has outright said in the past that he feels like Dana doesn't respect him as a champion. You might even remember that Dana and Stipe's relationship was so bad at one point that after beating Francis Ngannou, Stipe took the belt out of Dana's hands and gave it to his coach so that Dana couldn't put the belt around his waist. And maybe Dana and Stipe have been able to rebuild their relationship or whatever in the years where Stipe's been insanely inactive, but if you want me to be honest, this fight between Jon and Stipe kinda just feels like Dana is doing all that he can to protect Jon as much as possible. Kevin Iole says it perfectly when he says that the fight that makes more sense, seeing as Jon was injured, was to have Stipe versus Aspinall and the winner fights Jon when he's ready, which I totally agree with.
Because Jon got hurt and not make the fight that he was already supposed to fight.
We'll end it here, but I'll talk to you later.
What?
Okay, then the answer to that would be you should have had Stipe fight Aspinall or somebody else, right? In the interim, because how do you qualify for a title shot when you have not fought since, 2021, and you lost that fight? How do you qualify for a title shot sitting out for over 3 years?
But instead of giving Aspinall the respect of setting himself up for a fight with Jon Jones because he's earned it, Dana instead holds up the entire division for over a year and a half while also making the fight between Jon and Stipe even more preferable for Jon because Stipe's only getting older. This is such bullshit. Dana, who's always been known for how much respect he shows his fighters, is preaching about respecting the legends and doing what's right when in reality he's disrespected Tom Aspinall by making him defend an imaginary belt, all while he protects Jon by having him fight Stipe, who hasn't fought in close to 3 years. And he can say that this is about respecting the wishes of two legends or whatever, but at the end of the day, it really just feels like he's setting up Jon Jones to retire while he's still on top. Anyways, Dana ends the press conference by saying yet again that Jon Jones is the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world right now and walks off the stage with a big smile on his face. Alright, so if you're watching this video, then you'll know that this saga of Dana cartoonishly glazing Jones as the pound-for-pound #1 has been going on for a while now, and personally, I think it's nice to see true media professionals get so fed up with it where they openly stand up to him and refute his nonsense. Like, the non-stop complimenting of Jon from Dana has already passed the point of abject absurdity weeks ago, and it's obvious that fans and the media are fed up with this guy spoon-feeding us his tired-ass propaganda. I really don't think any self-respecting UFC fan considers Jon pound for pound #1 right now, and it really is nice to see these reporters, specifically Kevin Aioli, call out Dana's bullshit for what it is. But in true Dana fashion, the guy deflects, gaslights, and bullies his way out of any criticism towards his lies and talks people down until they're too afraid to say anything back to him. And what really rubs me the wrong way in this press conference is how Dana is so willing to openly disrespect his other champions in order to prop up his flimsy-ass argument that Jones is the current pound for pound #1. Like, I personally don't even think that Islam Makhachev is pound for pound #1. I kinda think that Alex Pereira is, but seeing as Dana is a promoter of fights, it's just a lame move to try to make Islam look bad in hopes of making Jon look better. I mean, no one here is denying that Jon is most likely the GOAT of MMA, which is definitely much more prestigious than being the pound for pound #1 of any given period of time, so I really don't get why Dana is being so weird about saying that Jon is the best in the present day. Dana has more exciting fighters, more active fighters, and less problematic fighters on his current roster, yet he insists on dying on this hill that Jon is the same quality champion that he was back in 2012. Who knows? Maybe Jon actually does have pictures of Dana. Shout out to Kevin Aioli, man. Anyways, that's the video for today. Definitely let me know your thoughts on Dana from yesterday's press conference. Do you think his stance on Jon Jones is as ridiculous as I do, or do you think what he's saying makes sense? As always, if you liked the video, then like the video, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.